Hi everyone, welcome to Games of the Week for this month. June. It's been a bit longer than usual. I think it was early on in May, and a lot's happened since the last one. So what are the big things? There's been the UK Games Expo. Yeah, I think I talked enough about that in all of those really long videos that I did, but it was all great. And then the Kickstarter was going on. I think the Kickstarter hadn't happened yet when the last one happened. So the Kickstarter, it happened. It was fantastic. We just about reached the stretch goal at the very end and the last day to get to Essen. So plans are in motion to go to Essen and, you know, get all of the goodness there and hopefully make some good videos there as well. So yeah, what's going on with the Kickstarter? If you're a backer and you're just wondering what's going on, then this is the period where Kickstarter is processing all of the money and everything. I think it's going to take one more week because it's a week today since the Kickstarter finished. So it's going to be one more week and then it should all be sorted. And you know, everything's pretty much in motion. I've got the votes ready. I need to sort out how the credits and everything are going to look, and ask what everybody wants to be credited as. But the votes are ready, the badges are pretty much ready to say, you know, go and make the badges, and then I'll get them sent once they arrive. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've got my big list of all my games I had to make for the executive producers who can pick a game that will jump to the top of the queue, but nobody's done that yet. And yeah, so everything's just going along really nicely. I'm really thankful. As I've said so many times in those updates, if you back me on Kickstarter, then thank you so much for supporting me and meaning that this can go on and hopefully, you know, get bigger and better. But you know, if for whatever reason then you didn't back the Kickstarter, thanks for watching anyway and subscribing or whatever that you do. It's up to you really, innit? So, since last time, what videos have we had? Loads. This is the problem with doing a monthly thing of these, but I didn't have enough time for this today. I'll let you in on a little secret, but I'm doing it because monthly. This is the last Wednesday of June. Anyway, so what have we had since? We've had Scuttler's Island, which is a Kickstarter where we have this big cloth map, and it's a good game for a huge number of players, a very fast playing game where you are laying down these tiles to try and get to the middle of the map where the treasure is, but you're all trying to cut each other off, and maybe you can join up with some other people and you can all win together. You know, that's a very fast-paced game. Century Spice Road is a pretty big game that came out at the UK Games Expo, where we have these hands of cards that will get us gems or upgrade us spices, not gems, spices. They will get us spices and upgrade us spices and deliver spices. And you can get better cards to get the better spices faster and do the big points orders faster as well. The Vikings Gone Wild playthrough was it's a really good introduction to deck builders. Really, everything is kind of laid out step by step if people don't really know the process, and there is a decent amount of, you know, fighting and stealing things from each other if you would like that in deck builders as well. Jump Drive is kind of, well, it's not a mini race for the galaxy, but it's now set in the same world. It's built off another one of Tom Leman's games, The City, and it's had tweaks and things to it, and now it is Jump Drive. So it uses the artwork of Race for the Galaxy, or the artwork style, I should say, and some of the iconography. So I think it's a great game in its own right, a really fast-paced, you know, points grabber. But also I think that by using some of the same symbols and things, and it's probably the intention, that it would be a good easing into Race for the Galaxy, which a lot of people can find intimidating for the number of icons and strange symbols that are on everything in that game. Then there was Helionox Deluxe Edition, which is a deck builder where we are moving across the galaxy, really. We're moving to all these different planets, trying to stop these disasters happening because the sun is failing and so is the universe because of that. And the expansion adds all sorts of things like these requests where we can go and get cargo and deliver it. It adds cooperative modes, it adds a solo mode to it where we are playing against a shadow syndicate which will just kind of rob all the points if we leave them up for grabs for it. But it's a really interesting deck builder. That's a Kickstarter as well. Then there was Paws and Padlocks, which was another Kickstarter. I will just break and say, just quick tangent, if I do see people, I mentioned this in the Q&A, I do see people on Rado's channel and some others complain about the number of Kickstarters, and I've never really had a problem myself. But I thought I'd mention, since suddenly the number of Kickstarters I was doing shot up, I'll say that it's just coincidence. It's just that I said yes to a lot of these things, and then it just happened that the dates, you know, all came really close to each other. So it's not like I'm suddenly going heavy into Kickstarters. Like, I think there aren't many left coming up very soon anyway. It just, they all converged, and a lot had to happen in a very short space of time. But I'm a little bit glad of some breathing space from the deadlines anyway. Anyway, Paws and Padlocks. That's a good introduction to kind of dungeon crawly style games. It will be a great game for kids where you are laying down these cards that are the rooms, and you can rotate them, unlock new rooms, use their powers, find things in chests. You're ultimately trying to get to the end of the dungeon, get your particular treasure, and make it out. But the events and the other players won't make it quite so simple. Then there was a live Q&A, you can go and watch that. It's not live anymore, obviously, but I did a little, well, it wasn't little actually, it felt very quick, but it was an hour of me kind of talking. I think there's some technical difficulties and things towards the beginning, but yeah, there were quite a few questions, and I'm pretty bad with questions about what's your favourite this and that, but hopefully, you can find out some intriguing things there. Then there was a playthrough of Terra, which got released at the UK Games Expo. That was a Kickstarter a little while back. It's a cooperative game where we were all going through a cave and we're trying to avoid the gas and the horrors and the floods and all of these terrible things that can happen, and we're trying to make it out alive, basically. ReFloristation is still currently on Kickstarter. That is a brilliant card game where we are florists, basically, and we're trying to get all of these flowers, kind of Ticket to Ride style, but the twist is you can plant them, and we are trying to fulfill all of these orders and try and make the most money, basically. But as well as being a lovely little quick card game in its own right, the designer has plans for a solo challenge mode, a solo story mode, and maybe even in the future cooperative rumours. But the story mode to me sounds fantastic, and it's fantastic when story gets added to Oh My Goods. That was a fantastic thing, and it really kind of changes the way that you think about it. Even though that was still competitive, I would love to see story mode brought to ReFloristation, and that's on Kickstarter still, I think. So you can go and check that out. It definitely is still on Kickstarter. I don't know why I said I think. Loony Quest is a fun family kids game where we have these kind of platformy Mario-looking levels, and they will be in the box in the middle of the table, and then everybody has these clear see-through acetate sheets that they will draw on with markers, and you are trying to draw lines through the levels, trying not to hit the enemies, and trying to make your way out or get all of the gems or unlock the chests and all of these different things. You can check that out. That's a fast light game. And finally, most recently, Wendake is a game where we play as these Native American tribes that are expanding out on a map, and we are trying to get resources. We are trying to sometimes use military to take out other tribe members, well, other people's tribes. But the most interesting thing about it is this action grid where you have to pick actions from it, but they have to kind of go in a line diagonally or orthogonally. And so you're going to be restricted when it comes to your third action, because the 2 points you've already made will define what your third needs to be. But as well as all of that, all of your 9 action tiles in this square will slide down at the end of the round. 3 come off the bottom, and one of those you are going to pick a brand new super-powered one and then shuffle them up and slot them back at the top. So it's an ever-shifting action grid as well that I think makes it really, really interesting. But that's everything that we've done since the last games of the week. That's loads. So upcoming games now, what have I noticed in the last month on new listings on Board Game Geek? And I will admit that I am very behind on this. I'm maybe 3 weeks behind on checking the new games that have been added to the database because of just all of these huge number of videos that needed to do, well, for me anyway, a much bigger number than usual need to be done by certain days. So I've had to let a couple of things slip, but I will get caught up on all of these and add any games that I've missed. I've had to rely more on kind of remembering things, seeing things on Twitter, or seeing things in other people's lists. Rado's, especially Rado, is, as you would expect, on the ball with updating that list. So, what have I seen? Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama. So I've not done a playthrough for it, but Kodama was a lovely card game where we're building up these trees and trying to get all of these creatures and things to match up in the trees. It's a very, very lovely looking game and a very fun one as well. But now it is getting combined with Avenue, which I did do a playthrough for, and it was a fantastic game from last S and a really, really brilliant filler game, and they are being combined, and so it's basically Avenue with Kodama's art, but they are adding a load of things in it, like instead of being a pad, they're going to be dry erase boards that you play on, and there's going to be a variable map rather than it's the same one every time in Avenue, and there are going to be special cards that will add different rules to each game. So really, really looking forward to what that will add to it, because I like the 2 games that it's based on anyway, and really, really, really enjoyed Avenue. So basically, even if you didn't have the new art and things on it, it's basically Avenue with more stuff for it, which is only a good thing to me. Speaking of Avenue, Santa Maria is a game coming from Aporta Games, who were the publishers of Avenue and the designers of Avenue. This is not a little game though, this is a medium complexity Euro game where we're trying to build our own colony in South America, and it involves dice drafting, engine building. Dice represent our workers and we'll activate those buildings. I am really, really excited about this because as I have said, I really, really liked Avenue, and so more from that design duo will be fantastic. And I have played a few of Christian's games as well. You know, Escape, Curse of the Temple and Zombie City and Automania. Really great games, so really, really excited about Santa Maria. Next is Reworld, which is coming from Kramer and Kiesling, who are 2 fantastic designers. And this is going to be a sci-fi game where we are programming with cards. We're going to be programming these Terra bots in the first half of the game, and then in the second half we are going to deploy these things we've programmed, and they are going to create new cities and spacey sci-fi civilizations in the second half. So sounds interesting. Next is Renegade, which is actually from Richard Wilkins, aka Ricky Royal from Box of Delights. And he has designed this game that is coming from Victory Point Games. It's coming on Kickstarter in a couple of weeks, I think, mid-July. I need to watch his videos, actually. That's another thing I'm behind on. As I said, I'm behind on a few things at the moment. But yeah, the theme is, you know, we are hackers that are trying to overthrow this neural network that, you know, as happens with these overarching computer things, they decide that humans aren't so useful anymore and decide to take matters into their own hands. So the theme sounds really good. It's I need to do more research on what the gameplay is like, but as I said, I'll watch his videos. And it's got some kind of cooperative deck building element to it. Next is Heaven and Ale, which I don't know much about again, but it's from Michael Kiesling, who is of the Kramer and Kiesling duo that I mentioned a couple of games back, and it's from Andreas Schmidt as well, who the only game from him that I have played is Polterfast, which was a nice little game, nice little push your luck game. And apparently the previews suggest that it's got action selection similar to Glenmore, which is fantastic in the way that you know, you have this time track and that determines the player order and the actual tiles that you'll end up getting. That's fantastic in Glenmore, so looking forward to how these guys take it forward in Heaven and Ale. Next is the Master's Trials, Wrath of Magmarath, which you can hear me talking about a bit more in the UK Games Expo report because I saw it there, and it's basically Dice City turned into a cooperative game, but instead of having one great big city board that's the same every time, there are these modular boards that are split up into, you know, your, let's say your race, your weapon, and your special power, or whatever it actually is. You will get these 3 different boards and make your own player board out of it, and then you will take your individual upgrade decks from those boards and shuffle them together, and that's your own personal upgrade deck. And you will be trying to fight some big boss and training up to get good enough. You will be trying to get rid of his rituals so that he's less powerful towards the end. Really, really looking forward to that. That's coming out at Essen. Lorenzo Il Magnifico was a game I really enjoyed from Essen last year, and that's getting an expansion now called Houses of Renaissance. It's going to add a lot more development cards because the base game, if you remember, has just enough to play the game. They're always going to be the same cards, but the order they come out in is going to be very different. You know, they might not come out in the rounds you'd expect them to, which does change the game up enough, don't get me wrong there, but now there is going to be a whole load of new development cards and a new tower that they can go in as well. There's going to be a load of new leader cards and apparently new rules for leaders. Now, leaders were probably a thing that didn't really feel that strongly about in the base game, so the way they're getting changed here might change that. And then special tokens that add things. That's what I've written down. So I'm not sure if that was in the description. But anyway, more Lorenzo Il Magnifico I'm looking forward to. Deadline, I believe, just came out at Origins, so people may be able to tell me what this is like now. I know that it's a cooperative detective story-based game where we are playing cards to try and solve these original mysteries that come with the game. I don't need to know more than that to be excited about it, but, you know, tell me more. Is it fantastic? It should be coming out here soon, hopefully. I think WizKids have got a bit of a delay of bringing things to the UK, actually, so maybe a month or so, but really looking forward to Deadline. Then there's Riverboat, which again, all I know is, and I think this is because it had no description when I entered it into the list. It's from Michael Kiesling, again, of Kramer and Kiesling. The art is by Clemens Franz, who does fantastic work, and it involves tiles. So we should be excited based on those three things, right? Edge of Darkness is the next one. Now, this was teased in the rulebook for Mystic Vale, that I believe that Edge of Darkness is the game that was always designed, and then the designer John D. Clare was asked to kind of take parts of it out and then came up with Mystic Vale from the card crafting element that comes from Edge of Darkness. I believe that to be the case. Anyway, this is a Euro game where everybody is crafting a deck together. So if you've played Mystic Vale, everybody has these decks of cards that are in sleeves, and you start off with these basic cards, but you will get these clear plastic things with little bits at the top, middle, or bottom, and you will end up crafting your own individual cards in your own individual deck. In Edge of Darkness, there is one communal deck that we will be building together, and the cards that you play may not belong to you, so you're going to have to pay other players to play them. So that really, really sounds interesting. And it's got 20 modules in it, and you will use 10 every game, so the games will be quite different, and they can also be used to affect the amount of player interaction that's in the game as well. So I'm really excited about learning more about Edge of Darkness, because I've been very intrigued ever since I saw it in the rulebook for Mystic Vale. And finally, CV Pocket. And CV was a dice game where you are trying to basically build up your life story, your jobs and your relationships and all of these things by buying cards with the dice that would then give you tokens and ways to manipulate the dice. It's a really, really brilliant game, and they are taking that and making a pocket version of it where it is a card game and you will select the cards with an interesting mechanism where the cards are in rows and you'll only be able to take from certain rows at a certain time. But just for the fact that it is CV in some other form, I am interested based on that. So if it's got interesting things on top of that, then fantastic. But that is CV Pocket. And I think that is it for talking about things, because that has been a lot of stuff in one go. I probably shouldn't leave it as long. I know there's some people that want me to do these every week again, but there just isn't time at the moment. Soon, maybe. We'll find out. But I think that's all there is really to say. Oh, shall I tease something that's coming up in case you didn't see on Twitter? I'm very, very excited that I think the next Kickstarter preview that's coming up, which will be in a couple of weeks, is for founders of Gloomhaven. And if you have seen me talk about any board game, I have usually found a way to bring it back to how good Gloomhaven is. And I loved Forge War as well. So the next game I was really, really excited about. So what did I think? Well, that's none of your business. No, I'll tell you in the playthrough video and the first impressions in a couple of weeks when I have had a chance to play it a little bit more and get to grips with it more, because I have a feeling this will be a complex playthrough to do. Trying to work out the strategies for multiple players at once in this is going to be harder than usual for me, but hopefully it's going to be a great video. And so I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for more videos at some point in time. Bye.